humans function like prostitutes, right? Including these, social media platforms, hooping sport platforms. They function like whores, right? Where they don't want to move unless they think that they can get some clout off of it. They think they could get some money off of it, etc. Right? Now, if I was some snotty nosed dude that just, approached, for example, Terry Hosley and was like, yo, let me get on your 1v1 tours, he probably, and this is my assumption, that he probably, would have scrolled through my social media to see if he got any if he could find any footage of me. But I feel like there would have been some conversation there where there's like, okay, well, do you have any footage or anything of the sort? When I reached out to Terry Hosley, which was pretty recently, the dude, first of all, immediately read my message, but left me on red for days. So, and I'm the type of person, confrontation is where I dwell. I am perfectly fine and comfortable in uncomfortable situations. Confrontation is one of them. So I saw he ignored me. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to wait at least 2 days to hit this nigga with a motherfucking follow-up message. We hit him with a business tactic, right? So then I hit him with the follow-up message, and I'm like, actually, I could read verbatim what I said. And yeah, I could sit here and show the messages, which I don't mind, you know what I'm saying? I just have to screenshot them and get them posted. But let me show you what this dude. And I messaged him May 26th. I said, hey, Terry, I'd like to compete in your 1v1 tours in the near future. How do I make that happen? Crickets. So May 28th, the first message I sent him, May 26th. May 28th, 2 days later, I said, Terry, here's a follow-up message. If you're not interested, explicitly relaying that would be very informative. I said, I'd like to compete in your 1v1 tours in the near future. How do I make that happen? If you're willing to allow me in your environment. His response was, about an hour later, hey, I think it's supposed to say, hey, love, but it says, hey, I love. I apologize for the no reply previously. And then it says, but have you ever played a 1v1? So my response to him, I appreciate you. And yes, I have, just not in the magnitude of how your 1v1s are structured. I personally don't think that question would have been asked if I was male, but it is what it is. You know what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, this is something that I've been dealing with for a long time. Even in my pubescence, adolescence, even when I was in the military. I'm serving in the Marine Corps in a space where you would assume like, okay, the playing field is fairly even. No, bro. Even though women are expected to train alongside males, train to similar standards as males. And when I say similar standards, although on paper our standards seem to be a little bit more lenient, how it's actually carried out is like it is, and as black people understand, right? Even though on paper, society views black people as lazy, ignorant, ungovernable, incapable of governing themselves, and they require social control, right? Innately criminalistic, all this other stuff. But then when you look on paper, right? When you look on paper, that's how we perceive, because that's how society looks at us. But then when you look at us for yourself, you come into our communities and you see, majority of the times you see that black people are some hardworking people. Majority of them have jobs, maybe entry-level positions, but majority of them have jobs. They're not lazy. They constantly moving. They're constantly keeping themselves busy. You see what I'm saying? And then we, a lot of times, even overly excel because we, as black people, have been programmed that we have to work a lot harder than the average man, which the average man is a white man, where he could just show up or she could just show up and be accepted, be given whatever it is that they aspire to get. We got to work hard. And it was the same thing in the military, where female boot camp, we were constantly told, yeah, females are given this time to run 3 miles. Females are given, you're supposed to do this amount of push-ups in comparison, or not push-ups, pull-ups in comparison to the males, or to do dead arm hang in comparison to the males. Even though there was some similarities, when it came to actually training, especially when your superior was a female, that motherfucking female superior was telling the women and training the women and pushing the women to do better, to work harder. They were constantly told, you have to overachieve because you are outnumbered in the space by men. You off the rip are looked at as incapable of carrying out the duties that pertains to your job, just based solely on your reproductive system. So you have to go above and beyond. I knew women who was the mother of 3 kids running 3 miles in about 22 minutes. That's unheard of. The average male don't even run a 3-mile run in 22 minutes. The average male runs a 3-mile in what, maybe 26? The average. We're not talking about somebody who runs, who motherfucking trains for long distance runners. We talking about the average, which the average is a couch sitting sedentary person. So again, we got to do better as a community. The whole ostracizing, ignoring people, leaving people on red, it's like mind blowing to me because Terry got me. He's older than me. Dude's pushing 40. I'm 32. Dude's like 39, you know? And it's like, but then I realized we all wasn't raised the same. Because I was raised in a 2-parent household with my mama and daddy who taught us self-respect and respect of others, courtesy. When somebody talk to you, you don't ignore them. If you ignoring them, because there's some tension, there's some feud there. You respond to people. You express what it is that is on your mind. You don't tiptoe, you don't pussyfoot. And people get mad when I call them out for the pussyfoot. And that's why I told him, if you're not interested in me being on your space, then explicitly say that. But then even after I responded to him, told him, yeah, I have 1v1 experience. He hasn't came back to open the message, but this is supposed to be his business profile. Now, I'm not telling this nigga how to run his business. What I am saying is that discrimination is illegal in the United States of America. So even your platforms, right, that y'all are trying to put out there, discrimination cannot be in the forefront. Imagine trying to go buy a house and then they looked at you and was like, Terry, your nose is as wide as a bell pepper. Hell to the motherfucking no. You hella dark. Hell no. Well, have you ever lived in a house like this? It's the same thing when y'all look at houses and you're like, this house is nice. It seems affordable. And then you go talk to the application folks and you try to apply for the place. And then now all of a sudden they putting all these extra parameters on it and stipulations. Now you have to have 5 times the amount of rent. You got to show them your income, and your income got to be 10 times the amount of the rent. Now niggas treat y'all like that. You be out here getting frustrated about to rip your clothes off, turning into the hawk and stuff. These jobs, we see it. We see the frustrations on a regular basis where black men with no criminal record are passed over for jobs that are given to white men when they have criminal records. That's literally academic research data. That a black man is 9 times, he is more likely to be chosen over by a white man with a criminal record for a job, even though he doesn't have one. So when you put in these ostracizing measures against females or against tiny dudes or white dudes or whatever, I mean, it's the same concept. That's why I think it's trash when y'all niggas be trying to get clickbaits off of, this is the coldest white boy ever out there. Y'all literally perpetrating the racist stereotype, the racist idea that white people cannot compete physically when it comes to anything in black people. As if we are biologically structured to dominate when it comes to physical fitness. That has already been debunked as pseudoscience, false. But yet, we see these ideas be reinforced And then they start to shift because now it's not being solely attributed to color, but now it's being attributed to gender. And now it's being attributed to other demographics like your motherfucking financial background, whether you're a renter versus a homeowner, whether you have college degrees or not, whether you have a high school diploma or not, whether you have a GED or not. Come on. Come on. I mean, I don't get it. If competition was legit and you out here trying to show that you the best, or you trying to put on your platform, right? Wouldn't you take a more all-inclusive approach? If you trying to separate yourself from all the other platforms, why would you continue to introduce the same tactics on your platform? We see the same playing styles, we see the same games, we see the same players on various platforms. And they're all males. Yeah, we got all these female hoopers out here. We got all these female football players out here. We got all these female hockey players out here. Like, what the freak? What is going on? And then it's off the bat, like, nah, y'all can't compete. If that ain't some white people, racist white people stuff, I don't know what it is. That's the same stuff racist white people used to say when they wanted to leave black people out of the space and literally orchestrate it to where nobody can benefit off that system. Neither can no one contribute to that system but them white people, them racist white people. And that's exactly what y'all doing here in these sports spaces, ostracizing against women. They get the automatic assumption that you can beat somebody just because of their reproductive system is illogical. It's an illogical fallacy, okay? It's a logical fallacy. If you want people to think otherwise of you more positively, then give them more positive experiences.